At first, we see very little. We aren't given a face, much less a name. We are only shown the man's hands, used to pick his best ring, and put on his best clothes. Understandable, since he was about to attend a fancy diner, full of important people, yet no one more important than him. Spielberg lets us know that Schindler is above everyone else in the room as soon as he enters it. From the moment he walks in, he's constantly reigning over the screen, regardless of whether he's being focused on or not. It isn't any different when he shares a shot with other characters. When the waiter comes to get his order, Oscar holds more than half of the screen. Additionally, the waiter is looking slightly up despite actually being on a higher position. A subtle example in this very same scene, and quite a clever one if you ask me, is when the Nazi officer goes to confront Schindler. The officer looks bigger when he is angrily approaching the table, due to that he's just closer to the screen, but when both meet in the middle, Schindler quickly takes the forefront. The rest of the scene makes all of this quite apparent. Schindler just stands in the middle of the shot, towering over everybody, not really subtle at all. That said, Spielberg found more creative ways to use his camera in order to exalt Schindler's presence. And he proves he can do it by putting Schindler and another character on the same level, height-wise at least.
I'm looking for Itzhak Stern. Are you Itzhak Stern or not?
Stern is being offered a position to run Schindler's business. He first sits on the table while making the first attempt to get Stern in, but it is refused by the latter. Oscar sits down, ready to negotiate. Due to his posture, this puts them at an even height. Schindler lets it be clear that Stern will be the one running it. Stern retorts by asking,
"Let me understand. They'd put up all the money, I'd do all the work. What if you don't mind my asking what you do?"
Let's pause for a second. Notice how Stern is closer to the camera in the shot where he refuses than Schindler is on the shot where he asks. Although that doesn't really last for long, because Schindler has something to add.
I'd make sure it's known the company's in business. I see that it had a certain panache. That's what I'm good at, not the work, not the work. The presentation.
Now he changes his posture, naturally occupying more space, both in his own shot and Stern's. Stern still doesn't accept, but Schindler ends the conversation with the upper hand in a closer shot than any other on this scene. If we equal favorable in frame positioning with having an advantage, the upper hand, or holding power, then I can't continue this video without talking about this scene. To give you context, Schindler managed to get his company running, and since they were more cost efficient than Pollock's, every single employee was Jewish. The business was almost a license to print money. In Stern's words, there's only one way business could go down.
Any reason to think next month will be worse?
The war could end.
However, let's not forget this is still Germany during World War II. During their trip to work, the Jews are made to shovel snow out of the road. To make matters worse, they realize that one of them is missing one arm, so they give him the old yeller treatment. Now Schindler is pissed. Not only did he lose a day of production, he lost a worker as well. While he is being explained what happened, Schindler is firmly in front of the window, with the backlighting making his figure stand out. Standing tall, way closer to the forefront than the officer sitting down on the back of the room. When Oscar actually starts complaining, everything mentioned is exacerbated. He completely moves to first plane, makes the camera look up at him, and leaves Rolf as a minuscule head on the background. The dominance over the shot continues when he demands compensation, holding an almost ridiculous advantage on vertical positioning considering they're both sitting down. Through these three moments, the elegant side of the characters is put aside in favor of highlighting his power to the utmost degree. Through cinematography alone, Schindler is made to look like an entity, almost. He doesn't hold this sort of almighty presentation for the whole film, but there aren't many moments where he is put in a weak position. One of the closest instances is what brought forth this last scene in the first place. The moment when Lowenstein insists on thanking Herr Director is one of the few times we see Oscar in this kind of situation. In fact, I'd say that no other man got Schindler in a worse position than this. A woman, on the other hand. A few scenes earlier, Schindler receives an unexpected visit. So unexpected that they have to stand around for a second, waiting for the one-night stand to dress up and leave. They both start with even positions, but Schindler slips into the second plane while awkwardly trying to make light of the situation.
She's so embarrassed. Look at her.
This makes it clear that Schindler is as embarrassed as the mistress, and it shows us that he holds this woman to a certain esteem. When the woman starts talking, we see the difference in how they're presented. She is well dressed and illuminated by the outside light, while Schindler is messy and the backlighting only serves to obscure him. More importantly, the woman holds more space, more firmly in the left side of the screen than Oscar does on the right side. The power dynamic of the scene becomes completely apparent when Schindler forsakes a taller standing, closer to the camera in order to sit down. Followed by a take where both the audience and the woman literally look down on Schindler.
Here. Look wonderful.
The dynamic develops at the following scene. Schindler and the woman go to have dinner at a restaurant, with the purpose of catching up without any naked women to interrupt them. They start with even positions once again, but with Schindler hunched over, seemingly waiting to hang from her every word. Things change when Oscar starts talking about his ambitions. He goes on about how he'll be remembered, how the people will talk about his legend with admiration, how he arrived with nothing and left with the world in the palm of his hands. Throughout all this, the camera slowly moved towards one side, constantly making Schindler hold more space as he details his dream. Schindler grows in the scene, as he re-establishes his persona. For everybody else, their positioning can be correlated to their control of that situation. This doesn't necessarily apply for Schindler, as his positioning tends to be correlated not to Oskar Schindler, the person, but rather Oskar Schindler, the figure.